Gentlemen of the press, thank you very much for this opportunity. I think it was not what we wanted, but we just have to do it now. And for record's sake, we have to just give you what I call a chronicle of how the journey has been. We, the Ibusa Council, of course, I am Comrade Dr. Ambassador I am the Secretary of the Ibusa Council. About 4 years ago, a little away from 4 years ago, we had this regime led by Chief Asaba. And it was a wonderful election. So we started. But you know, before we got in, we had just a little issue, just few issues that led to our going to the Ibusa, to make peace, because within us we were not together. So, in his wisdom, the wisdom of Ibusa asked the present chairman of the local government to oversee the election. And then part of the instruction was to also work on a new constitution, which we have now. Prior to this time, the regime was 6 years. It used to be 6 years single term. So within the period of that time, we were arguing, the members of the committee were arguing about whether to make it the 6 years, some said 5 years, some said no, it has to be 4 years. Another set of people said, okay, it was 6 years single tenure. Why don't you make it 3 years double tenure? So at the end of the day, it was agreed that it has to remain at 4 single tenure. And what was the reason? They said, since government stays 4 years and goes, it would be nice for a regime to go with a particular government. Conduct the election for a particular government and then probably go. Something like that. I know that after 4 years, some governments go for second term and all that, but we just put it at 4. Why? Because it rotates the 3 parts of Ibusa. So that's on the constitution. So we started. When this tenure ended, that was last year, prior to the local government elections. So we started. Committee was formed, elections, campaigns had started, we were already getting ready for the election. When the local government chairman of Oshimiri North asked the youth, invited us, and said we should please, for some reasons, we should allow the local government elections, pass before we reasoned. We tried to say no. Some said that the elections may take some days, hours with just 1 day. So we could fix 1 day for our own, and then the other one said, how about the companies and the rest of them. So he being an Ibusa person and we being Ibusa people, we looked at our brother, we said, okay, that's a cry of a brother, and we accepted. We didn't know we did that to our own brother. But I'll leave that. So after that his election, we were to begin again, because of that we placed an embargo on campaigns. So everybody stopped. Every electoral thing stopped. So we focused everything on that. But to tell you how far we went, he vied against the president emeritus, the man who was the president of the Ibusa Council before we took over. He vied against him, but we supported him. Supported And then he won. And then we came back for elections. But at the end of the day, we saw that two people at different times died, gunshots. They were killed. One in the bush, the other one around his house. So we can't also start an election within that. And we have an idea that the Constitution has no place in our Constitution. There is no place where they say if you do not conduct your election within this period, this one will happen. There is a big, is silent on that. So we were okay, because in here there is no vacuum in administration. So we said, okay, let us give some time to conduct, to allow these people, the burials, and families were angry, friends and brothers, there could be killings. So we had to wait for the election, the burials of these two to happen before we do election. So after those burials, we swung in. We swung into action. We went to the chairman, we went to the Ibusa, introduced ourselves and activities. They applauded us. They were happy. They said the kind of committee that were formed would give Ibusa what they wanted. So high spirit. So we went. When your father sent you a message, I led the take. So we were. The job was also with us. So we started. People started buying forms. They bought forms for almost how many weeks? They returned forms. After returning forms, they were called for data screening. And part of our, if you look at, I didn't bring the forms, you would have seen how stringent we made it. Why? At the back of our minds, we wanted people who will take over to be schooled people who are educated. You need to be educated. Then we'll now look at your character, your antecedents, and the rest of them. So those were things at the back of my. So it was a hurdle for so many of them. Some thought it was a joke. By the time we asked them to go get their results, so they saw it was no joke. So some traveled to. One had to go to Kaduna, one went to Lagos, the other one, different people travel far and near to get those results. So it was really a lot. On the day of the interview, of course, it was a big one. It was like somebody going for something bigger than YM or more. So we finished that. So it was now time for us to have a manifesto night day. It was already fixed. It was a date, and information had gone. Police, every security, or for the election and for that day of the manifesto had been sorted out. Our guest speaker had been written, he accepted. Guests for the, we sent letters to many. We were still sending, even on the day, only for us to see a letter from the council, from the local government chairman, inviting us to the palace of the Ibusa. We smelt a rat, but we didn't want to reject the call, because they say in our language that Peking, they reject message, but they reject the call of his family. So we had to go. We went there. It was already stage managed. We are not allowed to talk. So what we did, they orchestrated what they wanted. Made some people vent some anger. What was it that they were not carried along? A set of people called the ambassadors, peace ambassadors. They were not carried along. And some people, petitions were not listened to. Meanwhile, they had been handled by us. Those petitions had been handled by the committee. And based on that, they were going to stop the elections. Meanwhile, we wrote, because I think we knew what was going to happen, we chronicled again our activities throughout the period for the election, like the electoral committee, our activities, all that we have done, just like I told you, more of it. And they gave it, I gave it to them. After reading it, Ibusa, and all that came there, because I read it, said, wow, that we have done a perfect job. In fact, to be on the safe side, they want to give us 90% of job done and perfect. But they did not tell us why, the reason to stop a job done that long and that well. Abruptly, towards the election was 4 days time. That was how it stopped. Okay, then we were avoiding people. Went back to the Ibusa, gave us his words that it was not going to be any issues. We were going to start up again. The next day, the day after, we went back to him saying, Doctor, we have not heard anything from you. What is happening? We need, the spirit is high. We need to get these children before their spirits are dampened. Please. He says, what I told you the other day is exactly what is going on. So, shocking, the next day after that visit, we got a list, produced a list of new committee set up. Removed almost 60% of the people who were there, retained myself and the chairman of the committee, because I'm the secretary of the committee too. Retained just the two of us with past presidents, and then added other. What those people they removed did, nobody knows. Why they removed them, nobody knows. No information was given, no reasons were given. What we heard was that we cannot be bigger than Ibusa. We tried to cite our constitution, told them. What we heard the next was that they were coming the next day for inauguration. So we quickly, because effort to reach our grandfather was proved abortive, could not. So we ran to the court for an injunction. So that's why you hear the court. So the case went to the court. Nobody said anything about it. They were okay with what they were doing. We just stayed. Because we believe that you can't live by a mat, get a razor blade, cut the mat, and then you come back there to sleep. It's not possible. So we didn't want any issues. The court was on until it was no more. While this case was on, the commissioner for youth came there, boasted that he was going to assist in the elections. We cried out. Somehow he didn't come back again. But in fairness, the Ibusa told him he was not going to, give him such an opportunity. So we were assured that there was no influence in the longer. Not long ago, they went ahead, constituted an illegal caretaker committee. Now, how did it go? To tell you how cynical and how trickish something can be, they invited some boys, indigenous and non-indigenous, informed and non-informed, that they were going to pay homage to the Ibusa. They got to Ibusa and then told Ibusa that they are the youths, that they had vacated the case from the court. That they had vacated the case from the court. And then that they had come now to ask Ibusa to form an interim committee, youth committee. Instantly, selections were made and names were written, and the next day they had them inaugurated. 2 days later, we heard that we were going to the commission. We wrote, and through our lawyer, wrote to the commission for youth, informing him of all that I have narrated. How the case in the court is still ongoing, and how they had gone away and gone on their way to look down on the court case and then do whatever they like. And that these people that are here or that may be coming to him are all illegal. We narrated everything. It's here, just for your So at the end of the day, we didn't see that day. This nothing happened yesterday. We saw on social media that they had gone to the commission. We felt very bad. We've been begging our youths to calm down, because what they want what they want us to do, or what they used to do, is take the streets and cause issues. But we cannot allow that, because whatever we do wrong or whatever we do in anger may affect Ibusa. So we on our own chose today to come to the same commission to remind him of what we have done, we have written to him, and the effect of allowing them at all visiting. We were there around 11 thereabout. Asaba too, he had not seen us. People who came after us were attended to, and we waited almost endlessly. Our worry is that he had boasted before that he will go ahead and do whatever he wants to do. But we want to beg the governor of the state to please not allow the commission to cause serious issues in Ibusa. We also want to let the governor know that ordinarily the road he gave us from Okpanam to Ibusa is enough for all of us to vote for him. So it does not matter the lies they tell him. Ibusa as a whole, we are already happy with him. So anybody who wants to use the guise of politics and whatever to get Ibusa into on fire, he should know it's not true. It's not true. He should come ask leaders of Ibusa, and they will tell him what the truth is. He should consult with the ICDU of Ibusa and find out what is true. I do not want to sound, insulting, but we know that our issue is one person, and that person should be allowed to let Ibusa breathe. The youth of Ibusa must breathe, for goodness sake. We don't want to be very, insulting. The local government should let Ibusa be. The chairman has to allow Ibusa Council. We have done. Ibusa Council gave, rather than use it, gave to the local government 2 vehicles to chase and to combat crime and combat crime in this town. We brought gadgets for security, walkie-talkie, and CCTV cameras. We gave them to them. Some other items for security were given. Not a mention has been made. We have on several occasions donated to the service of the local government, not just for Ibusa, as a youth body, and there's been calm. This treatment It is worthy of note that we are not in any way quarreling with our father Ibusa. The only reason why his name is there is because he was pushed forward. And for us to achieve what we want, we can't, the palace has to be, in that suit. Otherwise, we know the hand that is wrong here. And we beg every peace-loving person, the DSS, all apparatuses that can be used to bring peace, and call these people to order, to please do this for the sake of Ibusa. Our town, for those who know, the name is Isufu Obujimbi. We are resolute. We are completely unmoved. And we will do everything possible, not forceful, not wrongly, but everything legal to make sure we bring them and their cohorts either to book or down. I think I am done with that. And the constitution of the Ibusa you can see. And the constitution of the Delta State Youth Community elections by the guidelines, they have no right.
We want to state here that the major problem we have as a community in Ibusa is personal interest overriding the community interest. Ibusa have long existed before our arrival. Before I became an Ibusa son, Ibusa have existed. Our fathers are far gone. It is due to the youth to uphold the dignity and the peace of the community, which our leaders have failed in their respective areas. Today, we the youth of Ibusa, we are standing up to say no to personal and individual interests. You can't impose anything to us. Allow the community to decide. I rest my case.